Are you familiar with the Gen Z stare? Could you define it? Because a lot of people seem to have different ideas of what it is and what it means. Hi, Willow Davis. I'm a millennial. I think I have a pretty good understanding as to what people are talking about with the Gen Z stare. And from what I understand, I am in defense of it. To a high extent. I needed to come on here and yap about this because I recently made a TikTok talking about this more briefly, but it was a couple of minutes. And my TikTok For You page is absolutely covered in Gen Z stare discourse. Got a pretty good amount of comments on my TikTok, a lot of which I just am concerned about. I should probably start by briefly pointing out how often I'm embarrassed by the typical millennial, the stereotypical millennial, with their like very rom-com sense of humor, overall cringiness, friggin' Marvel movie quotes, and now just shitting on the younger generation. That is so sad to see after living through the lazy millennial trope, the avocado toast millennial, to see them just turn around and do the same thing to an entire generation, generalizing them is so annoying. Obviously, I'm generalizing millennials. I am one. That is not an ageist issue in itself. But I have deeper concerns about people's response to this in ways I guess I'll get into that I don't know if everyone's going to want to hear. So here's how I understand it. We got older generations talking about the Gen Z stare, making the point that I guess they're frequently just speechless, visibly inattentive, and just kind of unresponsive. I then see some Gen Z people defending this as no, that's just what we do when someone says to us something so ridiculously stupid that we have nothing to say or can't say anything unless like risking getting like fired or yelled at or something. They're like, we don't have anything to say because people frequently come at us with completely unreasonable prompts for conversation or whatever. People older than Gen Z will then kind of respond to that from what I've seen being like, no. It's like as if you're just not thinking. Like you'll walk into a coffee shop and the person at the counter will like greet you and you'll just say nothing. Millennials will say, no, that judgmental stare is what everyone gives to like boomers that are just like saying some stuff that's completely irrational or just like absolutely like racist or whatever. Obviously there's nuance here. I think there's probably situations where either thing could happen. Either it's just literally being speechless because like someone has a request of you at your job that like is completely undoable, but they're insisting it is. Some kind of like Karen rolls up, you know? And sure, maybe there's some truth in just the way Gen Z seems to respond to not understanding the formalities of a situation. Instead of inquiring more or trying to work through it, they kind of shut down. Sure, that's probably true at times. And I just want to go over like some of the common like things that people point to as like blame or like the reasoning for why this is happening, because some of them are really stupid, some of them are like deflecting, some are just like blatantly ageist, and a surprising amount of them I want to say maybe perpetuate fascist ideologies in our country. That might not make sense now, but let's see. In my TikTok that I posted, I went on to defend the Gen Z stare as someone who's just kind of like a huge introvert that doesn't really like being contacted or engaging in small talk or just like generally having to deal with things in person. There's like, I don't know, there's some simple things like, I feel like a lot of people feel somewhat entitled to your time and energy in a way, like when like they come up to you and like saying like, how are you doing? While also not really meaning that, or like just want to talk about some kind of like current event, or like, I don't know, just kind of unnecessary things. And like I'm thinking like maybe there's a lot of times the younger generation just doesn't feel like engaging with all of that. And honestly, it seems like more and more frequently, people approach you with like bad intent these days. Like you don't know where a conversation's gonna go anymore, what the kind of agenda they might have. So like I don't really blame people for just like not wanting to engage in public. I usually avoid this by just walking fast and looking angry, but you know, I'm from New Jersey. That's how you gotta be sometimes. I got places to be. You know, sometimes I wish I didn't feel an obligation to respond to people and warmly greet them. Nothing about disrespect, it's just not something I'm interested in. But the responses to this were weird. Let me go over some of the things I saw in the comments of my TikTok. You are trying to explain the why. The Gen Z stare is simply when someone of any age walks into a business and isn't greeted or spoken to first. For several generations, the host at a restaurant would say, "Welcome, how many?" or "Hi, do you have a reservation?" When you walk into a place and Gen Z is working, they don't say anything. They stare. They expect the customer to speak first. Okay, that doesn't bother me. I think that touches on like a larger societal problem of like people being expected to understand how things work. That's present everywhere. I mean, maybe that's just a me problem for just not following directions great sometime, but like I've always been annoyed with how everyone's kind of expected to understand how like public transit works and like where you're supposed to go in like a large train station or something. Very intimidating to like try to like get into the city sometimes. But I'm getting off track here. That's not what this particular thing's about. And I think we're gonna see the reverse of this situation soon too. And like this is just like one example here, but I am a little concerned with how frequently the examples seem to be some kind of version of like, I am contributing to your wage, please greet me enthusiastically and serve me enthusiastically. I don't know, I'm just not into people faking enthusiasm or happiness in that kind of way. It just feels very fake. But I mean, in this situation, sure, I guess if that was a real experience that person had, I suppose if I walked up to the host desk and said hello, I would probably expect that in some reasonable amount of time they might ask like, "Hi, are you dining in? How many?" Something like that, you know. But I mean, I would probably at least say hi first in that situation. Here's another one. The delta between peppy response and no response is rather wide. No one is owed anything, but like, we are humans in a community together. We say often how people are free to respond how they want to another's free speech. Same goes for their silence. The rest of society interprets it as rude, and it is rude. Lamau. I don't know, this person's defense is like, I'm allowed to say that the silence is rude. Sure, you are allowed to say that. Yes, you'll not be arrested for that opinion. It's not though. It's not. If silence was rude, that would mean that you were entitled to a response, which I don't know if you really are in a lot of cases. Here's another one. It's just a disassociative look that people are interpreting as rude. It is a Gen Z thing. It isn't the reactionary retail look, but it's not that big of a deal. I get it. Okay, that's pretty reasonable. There is a reply though. Dissociation in everyday conversations is still not normal, and that needs to be worked on. Okay, what should we do? Should we provide them mental health services? Should there be some kind of like government funded health system? I like the way you think. I've been waiting to get to this one. Well, when you chose to accept employment from a place, they typically have you sign a contract stating that you will follow all the company's policies. Usually, there's a policy that states, in customer service, that you are required to greet and help customers with a smile on your face, regardless of how you personally feel at the time. So if the thought of having pointless conversation with random people doesn't sit well with you, then don't work customer service. Sure, except I, like probably a lot of others, actually live in reality where, like, if you're in like high school or college and applied to like 30 jobs part-time in your town while you're like at school and one of them responds and it's this gig, I think you're gonna take it even if you're not suited for it. I don't know why this guy is gonna come on here and defend our oppressors like this. As if those are not just like ridiculous standards to uphold. You signed a contract that said you would smile. Listen to yourself. Maybe Gen Z is just feeling really hopeless about the future and the lack of prospects for financial security. Maybe people would be more willing to fake smile for a job if they could afford a home and health insurance. Brother, we need class solidarity over here. What are you doing here kissing ass? It's the lights are on but nobody's home type of stare. Okay, so the generation is stupid. Their brains don't work. I don't know if this gets brought up in any of these other ones, but I do see online a lot of people blaming it on being raised by iPads, which I mean, like who did that? Whose fault is that? Obviously, they're adults now and responsible for correcting their own behavior. But I don't know, they seem to communicate with each other just fine. So I guess their parents raising them with an iPad just kind of changed the way they communicate. There's also obviously the COVID argument. They got shut in at a crucial developmental moment, which is definitely true. Would have been a lot shorter if people took the COVID lockdown seriously. And I had to bring that up because I will not forget or forgive the people who still went out and became these super spreaders. You know, more people died because you had to attend church. Here's one. It's not about getting a peppy response. It's about getting any response. And no one's entitled to anyone else's time, but there are basics to human interaction that are needed to participate in modern society. Source? I don't know. I just ordered my coffee on an app. My barista mumbled my total and is therefore unfit to participate in society. By the way, order online. If you're getting pickup, order online. Maybe your stuff's taking so long because it got someone's entire job being to click on the touchscreen of the items you want for you. I think it's so great if the reason this is happening is because Gen Z doesn't feel obligated to mask pep as our generations did. Good for them. Millennials are probably jealous of their gumption. That's what I say. I wish I didn't feel as much of an obligation as I do to respond to people. And I don't know, I could keep going on. It's not lost on me how many of these scenarios people are making up are problems with people working in the service industry. I think servers' entire wages being completely based off of tips is unjustifiable and allows for wage disparity in like racism, sexism, ageism. Kind of promotes this like I'm better than you mentality and like I control how much money you're making. I don't know if I missed anything. I think Gen Z's just tired. I think they're not very hopeful for the future. I think they don't feel motivated to excel at a job that feels kind of worthless and it doesn't give them what they need out of it. And I think a lot of people just talk too much. I think they say things they don't need to be saying to people who don't care. But that's just me. I see the function of speech in like a transactional setting to be utilitarian. Don't ask me how I'm doing. You don't care. Don't even hold the door open for me. I'll get it. I don't care. Okay? That's it. Stop demanding more of the college student behind the counter and start demanding more of your elected officials, am I right? Gen Z is not your enemy. It's billionaires and corrupt officials. All right, have a good one. Thanks for watching.